This is a great moment. This is pretty awesome. So this is a clip of a guy named Gary Chambers Jr. He's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This is at a school board. Is it a school board meeting or a city council meeting?
School board meeting, I believe.
You sure it's school board?
I'm not sure. Whatever
okay.
Sean King said in the clip.
Okay, I guess it was school board. And apparently one of the members of the school board, and they're it's school board. They're talking about changing the name of the Robert E. Lee High School. Apparently, one of the school board members, the last time they talked about this, was caught on camera shopping online, like scrolling through her computer, looking at online shopping during the conversation of this. You know, I mean, I think regardless of whether you are in favor of naming schools after the losers in an insurrection who were fighting on behalf of owning human beings or not, you could probably understand how those folks who are, if not descendants of those human beings who were owned, directly descendant, but are living within the context of a system that was developed with that dynamic, that it might be worthwhile listening to what they're saying as opposed to shopping for new whatever it is, handbags. But
that's
no.
such a bitchy, mean girl thing to do.
Oh my God. So this guy, Gary Chambers, he starts with her and then he goes across every other member of this school board. It's an incredibly impressive speech articulating why one might want to, A, as an elected official, engage in this, and B, why it may be offensive for folks to have to walk into a high school that is named in, celebrating Lee's heritage, as it were.
Next. So I had intended to get up here and talk about how racist Robert E. Lee was, but I'm going to talk about you, Connie, sitting over there shopping while we talking about Robert E. Lee. This is a picture of you shopping while we talking about racism and history in this country. Only white members of this board got up while we were up here talking too, because you don't give a damn, and it's clear. But I'm going to tell you what the slaves, my ancestors, said about Robert E. Lee, since you don't know history, sister. Let me tell you that they said when he got the plantation, after he got off the field where 27,000 people died at Gettysburg, Connie, Robert E. Lee was a brutal slave master. Not only did when he whooped the slaves, he said, lay it on them hard. After he said, lay it on them hard, he said, put brine on them so it'll burn them. That's what Robert E. Lee did. And you set your arrogant self in here and sit on there shopping while the pain and the hurt of the people of this community is on display, because you don't give a damn and you should resign. You should have resigned 2 years ago when you choked a white man in his house. You should have resigned 2 weeks ago when you got on TV and said foolishness. And you should walk out of here and resign and never come back, because you are the example of racism in this community. You are horrible. Now to the rest of the board. You have an obligation to the people of this community, and 81% of them are black. And do you need a Klan rally outside, Mr. Godet, before you end it? Because holding it up means that you put that building in jeopardy. You do, sir. Because all over the country, they're burning stuff down. And black folks in this city have stood with protesters. I ain't seen you elected officials out there with them, making sure that nothing goes south in Baton Rouge. It's been folks in this community who give a damn, not just when it's comfortable, but every time. And 4 years ago, we came down here. Mr. Drake, they say you're a good man. Be a good man. Black folks say you're a good man. White folks say you're a good man. Your legacy is attached to tonight, brother. Your legacy. Now, let me say to the black members of the board, it's the most solidarity I've seen out of y'all in forever. Let's keep it at. Let's stand on this moving forward, because we don't need to apologize for Connie, Evelyn. She showed you who she was when she was sitting next to you while you were talking shopping. You don't need another example.
People can see the rest. People can go and see the rest at Gary Chambers' Junior, I think you can find that maybe online or, but I mean, that's, that gives you a sense of basically how seriously, at the very least, that one member of the school board was taking it. And the idea that, here's this guy whose ancestors were enslaved, and his kids have to walk through a building that is celebrating this guy. Like, what is the message that's being shown, communicated here? It is, despite the fact that the Union Army defeated us, despite the fact that we lost the war, these ideals live on, right? Like, that's why you do it. That's why you name things after people, to remind people. And what is the central thing that Lee did? It's not like him being the general of the Confederate Army was an afterthought. That is the reason why you're celebrating him. And what was that endeavor? What was that about? It wasn't about, like, maintaining, I don't know, the Southern cuisine or something. What was the fundamental aspect of their heritage that was being fought for? There was no other edicts about the South.
Yeah. Everybody knows what it means.
Of course.
Yeah. And this is also why the left or liberals should not abandon red states, right? Because a lot of red states are ruled by a small, rich, white elite and also contain many Black and brown people who that elite is doing terrible shit to. And you can't just be like, well, I only care about the blue states because they're going to vote for Biden or whatever.
I mean, yeah, I mean, both from like from electoral standpoint, from political power standpoint. I mean, it's you always, but also just in terms of justice. Yes. Just to, that it's, I mean, it seems like the idea that you could fight for the expansion of Medicaid, right? Which is going to provide material benefit for people in many of these red states. Many of these red states that are not expanding Medicaid, there's a significant number of Black people, of brown people, and obviously white people as well, who are not going to get health insurance because of the preventing the expansion of that Medicaid. Every time there was a mechanism to disenfranchise and essentially diminish the political power of Black people, it also, in part by design, but also as just sort of like this is a twofer, it would diminish the political power of poor white people as well. And poor people, just broadly speaking. But you saw it in terms of voting. You saw things like, poll taxes and literacy tests. And they were more than happy when they started to institute these things following Reconstruction. Very low percentage of people would vote. And they were more than happy to say, like, okay, as long as, we're happy to keep Black people from voting. Got no problem with keeping the poor whites from voting as well, because that will also make it much easier, our project. And the idea that you could get, and it's the same thing with the expansion of Medicaid, right? I mean, we're going to deny it to people living in poverty. And we're also going to, the top line is those Black folk won't be getting anything free here. And I'm convinced that, like, the more assertion of the value of these people's lives, which comes through, you cannot sit there and essentially create what is the modern day equivalent of a temple or an idol that I need to walk through underneath that name or walk by that statue every day, that is a reminder of my place in society. Every day that's up there, it is a reminder that I have a second class citizenship, essentially. And I'm not saying as soon as those statues come down that you're going to see expansion for Medicaid or material benefits flow following that. But the idea that you're going to have material benefits for people who can't even walk around in public without a reminder that this society celebrates people who made your ancestors slaves. Like those two things, you're not going to get material benefits before you get rid of that reminder. Let's put it that way. You won't necessarily get it by getting rid of that reminder, but you won't get it until that reminder is gone.
It's all part of the same fight. It's all part of the same process. Also, I don't know who the guy is in that video, but he should be a political leader of some sort because he rules.
I mean, it sounds like he's already like a community leader. I mean, he has a savvy about everybody on that school board that I don't think somebody in passing would have.
Yeah, I don't know if he's just like a concerned parent or if he's already some sort of political guy.
I get the sense
if he's
that
not,
he's
he should
at the
be.
very least, involved, active in the community because he seems to know about what's going on that board in a way that a typical person would not. But